Major disruption out there to the shipping industry. 40% of United States container traffic is now being held up. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of 20-foot equivalent units being stopped in their tracks. This is grinding the U.S. shipping industry to a halt. This could be as big news as the UPS strike. Also, we have big news coming out from farmers up in Canada as well as across the Midwest Plains. Catastrophic information. The corn yields out there are starting to get blown out in some places. Whole fields not pollinated. The drought has really bitten down on some states, and we're going to talk about that as well as really big impacts on wheat and how it's going to impact your pasta prices coming up. Let's jump into it, folks. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we talk about things that either the mainstream media doesn't talk about or they just talk about little bits and bobs. They never connect any of the dots. They don't talk about what's going on overall. So let's jump into it. If you appreciate these type of videos, please give us a thumbs up. Hit that little thumbs up button. All right, so 40% of U.S. containers actually go through the Panama Canal. So if you want to send containers from the East Coast to the West Coast or West Coast to the East Coast, you could throw it on a train, but really, you don't really want to do that in California because someone would probably steal all your stuff from the train yard because, you know, that kind of stuff happens there. So safer and cheaper to put it on a ship. Now, I'm not talking about a little ship, a little barge, where they put, you know, like 20 units on there, 20 containers. I'm talking about a ship where they put thousands of containers on. And they take this down through the Panama Canal and bring it up on the other coast, right? So big deal. 40% of U.S. containers go through the Panama Canal. That's exports, that's imports, that's from ports to other ports in the U.S. All right, so what we're seeing is the Panama Canal, they are having a massive drought. The main lake there that they use for the water to run the locks, they're running out of water. And so what they've done is they put they're rationing how many ships can go through the Panama Canal per day. And what is that resulting in? 154 ships. And like I said, we're not talking little boats. We're not talking little ships. We're talking about things that make United States aircraft carriers look small. These massive container ships, 154 of them are waiting. And the average wait time for the ships now arriving, waiting to get through the Panama Canal, could be 4 to 5 weeks waiting before they can go and get their turn to go into the Panama Canal. And as the summer wears on without rain, the water level continues to drop, and they may have to ration further. They're even saying that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So things coming to the East Coast or to the South from China, things coming from overseas are going to be moving a lot slower, and a lot of stuff's going to get jammed up in ports. The the UPS out there strike, that didn't happen. That could have caused a lot of problems. But friends, this is happening. There is no averting this. Apart from us starting to get some major rainstorms in Panama to start refilling that lake, we're talking some serious delays that are going to continue on for months. That's how serious this is, folks. This is worse than the Suez Canal disaster. More serious than the Suez Canal. Yikes. 154 huge ships waiting as of just a couple days ago. The number is probably higher today. All right, so we're also getting reports from farmers. Quebec is hammered. They've gotten too much rain. While a bunch of the United States has not gotten enough rain, central Canada has not gotten enough rain. Suddenly we have Quebec getting way too much rain, getting hail. They're having all sorts of crops getting destroyed out in the fields. Raspberries, strawberries, broccoli, just name a few. Whole lot of vegetables. These crops are getting devastated out there. They're losing whole fields. And, the roots are rotting. They got too much rain. And this is just devastating to the farmers in Quebec. You're not hearing so much about it in English media because they're squawking in French, right? They're raising a storm up in Canada in French, and it is a major, major issue. You're going to be hearing more about this in the coming weeks because it's going to impact fresh produce all across the northeast of the United States. All right, so, okay, vegetables, fresh vegetables, that's not such a big deal. What about wheat? What about corn? These are the things that fill our bellies, right? Well, the corn crop across the United States is pretty impacted by the drought. But one place where it's been devastating is Missouri. Missouri has been absolutely hammered. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's estimates for Missouri are 25% of Missouri corn is rated good to excellent. 25%. Just to put that in perspective, in the good parts of the United States, we're talking 75% rated good to excellent. It's like this black hole in the middle of the United States where they just did not get enough rain. And that number is probably going to be downgraded in the next report. So we're talking about whole fields, totally not pollinated, whole fields, complete losses. Corn across the Midwest, so from North Dakota down south, down through those states, we're looking at corn is bad. Not quite as bad as Missouri, but we're looking at yields, good to excellent ratings in the low 50s, and in that whole area, it's not good. Some in the 40s. A lot of corn has been lost. We went into the season and people were like, oh, well, we don't have much corn in the bins. We don't have much, food in the bins. We're running low on corn and wheat. We're selling it all overseas. And the stocks in the United States of corn and wheat have dropped dramatically. And everyone's like, well, that's fine because the farmers are just going to pull it all out. They're going to bang out a record production of corn this year. They're going to bang out a record production of wheat. Well, the winter wheat was devastating. And as we go into this fall, wheat is not looking good again. This is not only for Canada and the Midwest of the United States. This is other countries like Italy. Italy has gotten way too much rain for their wheat, and they're looking at major losses as well there. So what are the estimates we're seeing out there? Now, the main issue here is not just wheat. We're talking about durum wheat, okay? Durum wheat is what you make your pastas out of, right? That is a very particular kind of wheat. I believe it's high in protein. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff. All I know is that we're talking about durum wheat. That's the one that everyone's kind of freaking out about all over the place because that's what they grow in Italy for their pasta, because obviously Italy and pasta is kind of an important thing. Well, in the United States, we're looking at 16% less durum wheat production this year than last year. So last year was bad. We ate into our stockpiles last year, but we said we'll do better next year. 16% decrease. Now, we don't actually have the estimate out from Canada for another couple weeks, but when we get that, word out there, it's going to be even worse, that they're going to have less than 16%, so or higher than 16% loss over last year. So last year was devastating. Italy's looking like it's going to be worse. The United States is looking like it's going to be worse. Canada's looking like it's going to be worse. Friends, where's our pasta going to come from? People better either stock up on pasta or get ready to not eat pasta, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to go to the store looking for pasta this coming year, and they're not going to find it. That's just how that works. It's simple maths, right? You do the numbers and that's the maths. You can't just have millions of tons of pasta disappear and everybody still eat the same. And I know some people are going to be out there, oh, the food waste. It's all about the food waste. And the numbers that you've heard about food waste are totally bogus and just made up numbers. They all quote the same study back in the 1980s, I think it was, where they didn't even actually do a study. They just read some papers and then made their own estimates. And they were completely off because they're making up numbers, basically. And so, you know, if you hear like 30% of American food is wasted, that's like totally not true. It's like under 10%, and that's even assuming that wasted food, which ends up being fed to animals. Okay, a lot of wasted food ends up being fed to animals, and so it's just like all this stuff is just bad estimations. We do not throw out that much food in the United States, and we're not talking about, well, we can just cut back on food waste. Most of the food waste that happens is because food doesn't get to market fast enough, and it does have to be tossed out, like vegetables and stuff like that. That's where majority of food waste comes from. So it can't be served, and so they have to throw it out because it's already spoiled. You can't fix that really by having less food. In fact, less food means that you're going to have more inefficiencies in the delivery systems. All that to say, we're going to have some serious issues when it comes to produce in the Northeast. We're going to have serious issues with pasta coming up in the near future. It may hit the third world a lot harder than the United States, but expect pasta prices at the very least to go through the roof this coming year. And potentially major shortages out there. But I repeat myself, they're looking at it this way. So Canadian stockpiles of durum wheat, right, are down 47% compared to last year. If it took them 1 year to go through half of their stocks in Canada, and that was a bad year, and yet they're having a worse year this year, how negative can you go into wheat stocks? You can't, right? Once you hit zero, it's zero. Once you run out, and here's the secret, here's the real secret that they don't ever want to talk about, is that as you start getting closer to zero, people freak out. And as people freak out, corporations are going to step in and just buy whole blocks of it. It's not usually the individuals. It's not grandma going to get too many boxes of pasta. It's going to be Kraft because they want to make their macaroni and cheese. They're going to step in and say, there's a problem with the durum wheat. We're going to go in and secure our supply. And they're going to go into the market and they're going to buy up 50% of all the available durum wheat across the United States and Canada. And they're just going to buy that up. And everyone's going to go, wait, what? And the music stops, and all the people didn't think ahead, all the companies that didn't lock in durum wheat contracts, they're going to be left without a seat, and you're going to see a whole bunch of products on the shelves are just going to run out of pasta because they didn't think ahead. And you know what? Individuals, same thing. Individuals that don't think ahead are going to find themselves caught without a seat. That's how musical chairs works. That's how civilizations come to an end. It's like one big game of musical chairs, and there's only one chair for every 50 people. And there goes the Hunger Games. All right, folks, just giving you updates on what's going on out here. If you like these type of videos, please do hit thumbs up if you haven't already subscribed. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. And I will see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.